Hey, Freedom Flicker fam. Welcome back to the channel where we break down the stories that matter. On September 2nd, 2025, U.S. forces conducted a deadly strike on a Venezuelan drug boat in the Caribbean, killing 11 alleged members of the Tren de Aragua cartel. President Trump called it a warning to drug traffickers, but this bold move has sparked controversy, raised legal questions, and escalated tensions with Venezuela. In today's video, we're diving deep into what happened, why it matters, and what it means for the future. Buckle up because this is a wild ride. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss our takes on the world's biggest stories. Let's set the stage. The U.S. has been ramping up its fight against drug cartels in Latin America, and Venezuela has been in the crosshairs for a while. The target of this strike was allegedly a boat operated by Tren de Aragua, a notorious Venezuelan gang labeled a terrorist organization by the Trump administration. But why now? And why this boat? For years, the U.S. has accused Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro of ties to drug trafficking, even offering a $50 million bounty for his arrest. The Caribbean has become a hotspot for drug smuggling, with fast boats zipping through international waters to dodge authorities. Last month, President Trump signed a secret directive greenlighting military force against cartels, and the U.S. Navy boosted its presence in the region with warships, Marines, and surveillance planes. This strike is the first major action in that campaign, but it's not just about drugs. It's about politics, power, and a high-stakes showdown with Venezuela. So, what exactly went down? On September 2nd, 2025, U.S. forces conducted a kinetic strike. That's military speak for a lethal attack on a speedboat in international waters in the southern Caribbean. President Trump announced it during an Oval Office event, saying the boat was carrying drugs and was shot out moments ago. A video he posted on Truth Social shows a speedboat exploding in flames, with 11 alleged Tren de Aragua members killed. Secretary of State Marco Rubio called it a lethal strike against a narco-terrorist organization. The Pentagon confirmed it was a precision strike, possibly using a drone or attack helicopter, but they're tight-lipped on details like what drug were on board or how they identified the targets. Trump says this is just the beginning, with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth warning that more strikes are coming. But here's the kicker. Rubio suggested the drugs might not even have been headed to the U.S., but to Trinidad or another Caribbean nation. So what's the real goal here? Venezuela is not taking this lying down. President Nicolas Maduro called the U.S. military buildup an extravagant, unjustifiable, immoral, and absolutely criminal threat. He's deployed troops and drones along Venezuela's coast and urged citizens to join civilian militias, claiming the U.S. is gunning for regime change. Maduro's long accused Washington of meddling in Venezuelan politics, and this strike has him doubling down, saying the U.S. is after Venezuela's oil and gas. State TV showed Maduro walking the streets of Caracas, rallying supporters and vowing to defend sovereignty. Meanwhile, Venezuela's communications minister even suggested the strike video might be AI-generated. On the flip side, Trinidad and Tobago's prime minister praised the strike, showing not everyone in the region is siding with Maduro. This is a powder keg, and the Caribbean's getting hotter by the day. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Was this strike legal? Experts are raising red flags, saying it might violate international law. The U.S. isn't a signatory to the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, but it's supposed to act consistently with it, and lethal force should be a last resort. Legal scholars argue that drug trafficking is a crime, not an act of war. So killing 11 people without a trial could be seen as an extrajudicial killing. The Trump administration's leaning on the 2001 authorization for use of military force, but that was for terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda, not cartels. Plus, there's the War Powers Resolution, which requires congressional approval for military action. Critics like Kenneth Roth from Princeton say this sets a dangerous precedent. On the other hand, Trump and Rubio argue that cartels like Tren de Aragua are terrorists threatening U.S. security. So who's right? And what does this mean for the rules of engagement going forward? This strike isn't just about one boat, it's a signal. The Trump administration's flexing its muscle, showing it's serious about cracking down on cartels. But it's also poking the bear in Venezuela, where Maduro's already on edge. The U.S. has 7 warships, a submarine, and over 4,500 troops in the Caribbean, and Maduro's mobilizing his own forces in response. This could spiral into a broader conflict, especially if more strikes happen. Regionally, countries like Mexico and Ecuador are watching closely, as Trump's pushing for cooperation on drugs and migration. But his tariff threats aren't winning friends. Globally, China's already condemned the U.S. buildup as interference. Is this about stopping drugs, or is it a power play to oust Maduro? And what happens if Venezuela fights back? We're at a crossroads, and the Caribbean's becoming a geopolitical hotspot. That's the story of the U.S. strike on a Venezuelan cartel boat. A bold move that's got the world talking. Is this a justified crackdown on drugs, or a risky escalation that could ignite a bigger conflict? One thing's clear, the Caribbean's heating up, and we're keeping our eyes on it. What do you think? Should the U.S. be using military force against cartels? Or is this overstepping the line? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's get the conversation going. If you found this deep dive helpful, give us a thumbs up, share this video, and subscribe to Freedom Flicker for more breakdowns of the stories shaping our world. Until next time, stay curious and keep the flicker of freedom burning.